It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
It was a very exciting day yesterday in the 92nd General Assembly. You had Senator Jason Rapert's pro-life bill advance out of the full Senate. And I know it was an emotional debate. I understand it was an emotional debate. We're going to cover that for you, probably give you some audio and video of that on Monday. And but then we covered this all last hour. A resolution to clarify gun rights was heard, and it never came up to a vote because they ran out of time. Joining us now to talk more about this, we got State Representative Brandt Smith is with us. Brandt.
Thank you, Paul. It's a privilege to be here.
So, it was kind of disappointing yesterday because it didn't come up for a vote. I think the votes were there, but there were also 20-something people there that wanted to speak for or against it, private citizens.
Right.
And I think in the interest of that, it's going to run now on Tuesday, right?
Well, that's my understanding. As the committee ended yesterday, it was kind of left dangling. I mean, are we going to be able to come back? And if you look at the last part of that video, there was a point where I was asked by the chair, "Are you ready to close?" Mm-hmm. And I tried to do that.
Yeah.
But there were so many motions in that committee hearing that I just thought, I'm not even clear where we are, because it descended into chaos.
Yeah.
And
it did towards the end. Yeah.
It did, but I think that was part of the strategy of our Democrats on the committee to almost like a basketball game where you want to run the clock down. So there's,
hold the ball.
Hold the ball, run the clock down, and then it's over.
Well, so after just to give some people more clarity, after you were finished and Mr. Tim Loggins was finished, who did a great job. Didn't he do a great job?
Oh,
yeah.
Fabulous job.
Yeah. So after that, then there was Mr. Glenn Britlin from the Arkansas Liberty Coalition. He went to the end of the table, testified for the bill. Then they had one gentleman. What's that gentleman's name that testified against the bill? Do you remember?
Tate.
Yeah.
Last name Tate.
Mr. Tate comes, and he is very anti-gun. And began to, I think at one point he seemed to express a fear of an armed populace, it almost was a racial thing, meaning like he would be shot or more likely to be shot if white people have guns because he's black. At least that's how I took it. I was in the audience and I was like, really? And so that was kind of way far out there. And then by the time he was done, there was a motion for immediate consideration, and then that didn't have the votes.
I think there may have been two of those.
There was. It was kind of bedlam at one point, and then of course,
bedlam.
Yeah,
I love that word.
Yeah, and then we are here. You are today. So, but yeah. You think your colleagues, you're on this committee as well, so you're a yes vote for it.
Right.
So you need 10 more. You think you got 10 Republicans on this committee that are going to vote for this resolution, not bill?
We need to make sure that a couple of our members that were absent yesterday, for whatever reason, maybe one was running a bill. I didn't see the other state legislator at the Capitol yesterday, but we need to make sure that everyone is present. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got a committee of 20, and if we need 11 votes, we need 11 votes.
Right.
And several of the members came.
How many Democrats are on that committee out of the 20?
5.
5.
Right at 5, I believe.
Okay.
And, I mean, this whole thing was supposed to be simple.
Right.
I feared that it wouldn't be simple, and my fears were, came to truth, but Tim did a good job. I'm really proud of Representatives Crawford and Davis. And then at the end, I was really proud of Representatives Hawks and also Gazaway, because we are there to represent our constituents, and they wanted everyone that wanted to speak to be heard.
Yeah.
And so the clock had run down, but
well, and also to Representative Charlene Fite's credit, I believe it was her that made the motion for immediate consideration. I mean, I think everybody kind of was like, okay.
Well, and Tosh did too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, Yeah, there was a motion to pass, or it got to the point where I couldn't figure out what's going on either. But
well, and you remember Representative Blake saying, "What are we doing here? What's going on here?"
It was kind of nuts. But I think even with a few Republicans who were absent running bills or whatever, by my count, I think this you still had 11 votes there, which is a positive thing. Now on Tuesday, let me ask you this: on Tuesday now, we've got all weekend for the Moms Demand Action, who are not a fan. They claim that they're not anti-Second Amendment, but I believe they are. All weekend for them to flood the inboxes of the members on this committee to go back. I mean, Tim Loggins did such a good job of diffusing all of their criticisms because he knows the law like I said earlier, like it's a Bible drill. He knows the law that well.
Yes, he does.
And now they're going to come back, and probably try to come up with other arguments for why. And it's so frustrating, Brandt, because all this resolution is to clarify what already has been on the books for 5 years.
The law is clear. And you heard the phrase "muddy the waters" yesterday quite a bit. That's what the opposition would like to do. It's not those of us that are asking, for this resolution to be heard and to be pushed forward to the House, but the Democrats and those in opposition to rights, they are the ones muddying the water. And, it's carefully crafted language, and sometimes it's not even carefully crafted.
Yeah.
It's just insane what they are trying to do to muddy the waters themselves.
Yeah.
So Tim did a good job. But Tuesday, if the chair, and the committee's chaired by Representative Carol Dalby, I'd like for her to review the video and watch the progression from clarity to just the muddiness of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then come to a decision on, am I going to allow more discussion, or whether she decides, let's just take it to a vote.
Right.
And see, that was the thing, because once the chair asked me yesterday, the co-chair asked me, are you ready to close? I tried to close, but things were still being shouted about, so I don't know what Dalby will do.
Okay, so let's assume that it doesn't immediately come to a vote, and they're going to want to hear this. Okay, so are we going to limit debate at all? Because I got a feeling if there were 20 signed up yesterday to speak for and against, or for, I mean, there may be as many as 40 that want to talk.
Well, and I think that would be really wise to do that. Yeah. And not everyone who signs up needs to go and repeat the same statement multiple times.
Yeah.
I think opposition and those of us that that are pro resolution, they need to get together and say, look, we can all sign up, but if we're all going to say the same thing, let's pick the very best spokesperson for this.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, but I mean, I can't. That's not my job to call them.
The thing is whenever this is run again, I mean, I think the committee, they need to prepare for the full 2 hours. I mean, unless you're going to limit debate, because that's what's going to happen.
I'd like to see it limited to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And that would give more people the opportunity. We did that in state agencies this week, and it worked well. But Paul, on the other side of the Capitol, the Senate is very interested in this.
Really?
I mentioned it yesterday, that there's the leadership in the Senate is supportive of this resolution.
That's fantastic.
And
that's fantastic.
They've already selected an individual to run the resolution on their end.
Okay.
But we just need to move it forward.
Right. Well, I'm really excited. I think people in this state who appreciate their Second Amendment rights. I mean, I've said this before, but what happened in 2013 was maybe the biggest transfer of freedom from the government back to the people in the history of the state, decriminalizing the possession of a weapon firearm.
Right.
And it's taken 5 years to get to this point, taken a court case. And some of those Democrats on that committee, they seem to just disagree with what the decision, what the Taft decision was. They said, I don't believe the Taft decision makes it clearer, but it did. I mean, if you go read the judge's opinion, it clearly did.
And see, by some of the the members on the opposition side, they wanted me to pull this down and wait for a Supreme Court decision. But I think, if I were to do that, we're talking possibly years of delay.
And I know you said that, but here's the fact. On that case in that circuit court, the time to appeal it is over.
The time frame is over.
It's over.
They had so many days to bring it out, and they did not. They let it go.
So it's not. I mean, you're not only you not only would have to wait for an appeal, you'd have to wait on a new case to happen, a new incident to happen.
I'm really proud of the Republicans on House Judiciary, and I think after seeing what happened yesterday, and for those of us actually on the committee, my hope is that it galvanized our resolve to move this forward to a full House vote.
I agree.
And, whether it passes or fails, that's where we need to take this next.
I agree. One last point on this. Can you address the potential civil litigation some of these local governments might be facing if this is not brought up? If they continue to wrongfully arrest people in just a handful of incidents. Well, then that was mentioned yesterday by Tim.
Well, and after the hearing, the committee adjourned, there were people that met me in the hall, and I had to get upstairs really quick for our session. But even following the session, I had members of the Patriots Act 746 that stated we already have multiple lawsuits prepared to be filed. And, they're ready to do this.
Yeah.
And it's going to tie up a lot of court time if we can't get some clarity.
Right.
And this could maybe alleviate a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking with State Representative Brandt Smith. He's in studio wearing his historic Dice Colony Boyhood Home of Johnny Cash T-shirt.
Sir.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I knew you would.
So tell me real quick, you've got a conscience bill. Reading Jerry Cox's newsletter from the Family Council, familycouncil.org, and he was supportive of this conscience protection bill. Tell us what it's going to do.
Basically, it's just going to add a layer of protection for medical healthcare workers that are currently not protected if there's a conscience issue that surfaces. And, medical technology has increased by leaps and bounds. We're all just really thankful that we can do certain things today that couldn't be done years ago, but it brings up a lot more ethical issues. If a person hires into a clinic and they rock along for a number of years and they all of a sudden that maybe their physician, the owner of that facility, says, hey, we're going to branch out into some new technology. We're going to be going through training, whatever. And if that person says, look, that really violates my religious conviction, or regardless if it's religious, just my personal values, we want, by reasonable accommodation, to say to those people, you're not going to lose your job. You're just going to have to take a step back, get someone to step in for you on those procedures, or they can look for another job. But we don't want them to be fired.
Well, this isn't directly related to that, but I covered a story yesterday on the program where in America they're taking the thymus gland and the liver of aborted babies, and they're putting it in mice. And in order to test certain drugs on the human immune system, they actually irradiate the mice to the point where it has no immune system, and then they put the human baby parts in, and to then test it. And I guess.
Well, see, that's that ethical
that's
dilemma.
Right. I mean, that's happening right now, and people are doing it. And by the way, it's absolutely ridiculous that we're literally willing to kill babies so that we can live longer.
Well,
if
you go back to the voter guide that was put out by Family Council, this bill actually was addressed in that voter's guide by all candidates running for re-election.
Okay.
Some of us weren't included because we didn't have opposition, but every one of them that answered that, I believe all of them, said they could support legislation of this type. So it's popular. It just, were these individuals speaking because, I'm on the campaign trail. I'll say yes, but we'll find out if we can get that out of committee. It'll go to public health.
Well, it's to me, I think the entire, protecting conscience, protecting life, what Senator Raypert has done over in the Senate, and it passed out of the full Senate yesterday. That will it will effectively ban abortion unless the life of the mother is at risk if Roe versus Wade, if and when Roe versus Wade is overturned. A lot of people think that's going to happen, especially if Ruth Bader Ginsburg doesn't come back to the court. I mean, where is she? We still don't even know where she is. There were some reports that she was at a concert the day before the State of the Union, but there were no photos taken. And there was even some reporters that tweeted that out and then deleted the tweet. And I'm wondering, what's going on with Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
Well, she is up in years, and the reports that I read state that her mind is just as sharp and clear as it's ever been.
Yeah.
But, our body does wear out.
Yeah.
And she's a woman of deep, I guess, conviction and knowledge. But even with that, your body just slows down.
Yeah. And anyway, so if Roe versus Wade is overturned, I mean, that's going to be, y'all are going to hear that in the House.
And I think that is another big benefit for us to have President Trump at this time in
Absolutely.
history. This will be his third Supreme Court nominee and confirmation. So that's big for pro-life
It's
people.
exciting because as dark as it kind of feels with New York passing what they're trying to do in Virginia.
Yeah, that's despicable.
It is. But then we have an opportunity in Arkansas to do something anticipating this. See, they're doing that in New York because they think that the Supreme Court's going to overturn it. Well, guess what? Let's do something here in Arkansas, but it's the opposite path.
And we're already the second most pro-life state in the union, but I think that would bump us to number one. And what a great place to be.
Yeah.
Number one.
I know. State Representative Brandt Smith, I appreciate it. I'll be down there Tuesday, and really appreciate everything you're doing, sir.
Well, thank you. It's uphill every day, both ways, but I'm there, and I'll do my best for our people.
All righty. Brandt, we appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.